mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Keep the faith.
This is going to be a disaster.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Tyranny is rising in the White House, and a man has declared himself our king. So I would like to know, rather, the people would like to know what you, Congressman, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
Woohoo! Wow. Wow. Oh, man. Wow. Sustained.
I'm not going to give you my best foghorn leghorn response. But when I was eating, go ahead, sit down, thank you. When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected.
Ooh, nobody's buying that, Rich McCormick. Nobody's buying what you're selling.
The funny thing is, you're sitting here and a lot of you would probably say those January 6s who are yelling just as loud as you.
What?
So yelling at me is not going to get any answer.
You are offensive to the people.
Hey, let's get through this.
I've seen Game of Thrones too, thank you. Let's go ahead and move on because...
No! Hello. Happy Friday, you bastards. Oh, okay, so that's Ruby Red, Georgia. That is a Republican town hall meeting that was led by their representative, Rich McCormack, who sort of looked like he was going to break into a lounge act to defeat the crowd that was against him that had just recently voted for him. So you know what, everybody, I think? You know what I think? The party's over. It's time to call it a day. I mean, he should just burst into song there. I would say the honeymoon is over, but Donald Trump's not even done screwing us. I mean, it's painful and it's going to take a really long time because he's almost, 90? So, yeah, no, he's not done screwing us. And it's just like the most amazing thing that we're going through right now. Truly, it won't last, okay? Can I just tell you that? This is not going to be a long, lengthy presidency. This isn't going to last. I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is looking for waste and fraud with a sledgehammer taken to congressionally approved agencies that literally exist to save us money, and they do. I mean, look at the things that they're going after, okay? This is so pathetic. This is and this is why Georgia is starting to stand up and scream and yell at the Republican representative that they just chose for themselves to represent them in their House of Representatives. The idea that you're going to save, or you're going to find $2 trillion, $2 trillion, everybody, by cutting Meals on Wheels is hysterical to me. Hysterical to me. It's sad for those who need the meals. It's sad for those who drive the wheels because it is a very cost-effective program, and the people who depend on it are freaked out because nobody's coming to the home. And, you know, I just want you to understand Meals on Wheels is not completely free. I will tell you this. People are never turned away for inability to pay. No, they're not. But they do ask for seniors to pay like $7 a meal in some places and $10.50 a meal in other places. But if you try to replace Meals on Wheels with a private aide that could cook a little meal, could cook a little breakfast, could cook a little lunch, Remember this, okay? And I know this because I'm the old hag, as they just decided to call me on Twitter. Good. Yeah, I accept it. Yes, fine. It's fine. I don't give a damn, okay? Because I know what I know because I'm old. And a hag, I don't know. We could argue that one. But it costs $30 minimum an hour for a home aide to go to mom's house to cook a little breakfast. But guess what? The home aide has a 4-hour minimum because she has to travel, right? And so if she's going to travel to you, to your mom, whatever, she's going to say, okay, you can hire me for $30 an hour, but I have a 4-hour minimum. So right there is $120 to get mom, dad, to get Auntie Rose a meal, okay, cooked in the home. $120. Meals on Wheels, free if you can't pay, $7 if you can, $10.50 if you really, situated well with your little Social Security check. Okay, so why are we looking at that program and saying this is what must go? The IRS, now I understand MAGA doesn't do math. I get it. They don't read, they don't do math, they can't do the numbers, okay? We did it to ourselves, everybody. We did it to our own education system. We actually did. So let's do the math, in a way that they can understand. So the IRS costs, now don't be afraid. The numbers are kind of big here, but don't be afraid. The IRS costs $12 billion a year to run. It collects $4.5 trillion a year. One is bigger than the other. See? One is larger. One is what it costs to run it. The other is the return on the cost to run it, which is exponentially greater. And that's all you could say to a MAGA, because they don't understand the math. They just don't. Also, if you wanted to go for like big money, like really big money, everybody, like the wheel, spin the wheel, they understand that. What you would do is you would look for things that cost trillions of dollars, not things that bring in trillions of dollars. Do you see how that works? Okay, good. So if you're going to look at things that cost trillions of dollars, you might want to have a little gander at the tax cuts. The 2017 ones cost $2 trillion. Bingo, we're done. Go home, everybody. Have a beer. Relax now. Enjoy. The other things that you could look at, $2 trillion, the pressure of identifying a program in this nation that will go. Oh, I know, the new F-35 program, $2 trillion, hasn't been delivered. Just saying. Why are you going after Meals on Wheels? Why are you going after USAID? Why are you going after park rangers today? Did you see the park rangers? You got one biologist for like all of Yosemite. They got one locksmith. Swear to God, I saw this today. I almost died. I didn't want to pull it because, there was nothing I could do to zhuzh up a locksmith story. I mean, it was, I live next door to a locksmith. Hi, Bob. But, you can't really make that story exciting. But he was trying to explain that he just got laid off. The one locksmith in Yosemite that is responsible for 1,000 structures. There are 1,000 structures in Yosemite National Park. They laid off the locksmith. So smart. Just Elon Musk is a genius, I tell you that. And let's switch sides in the Ukraine-Russia thing. Let's just switch sides now. Let's not be on the side of freedom-loving people. Let's not be on the side of people that literally pulled away from the Soviet Union, from Russia, and made themselves into a democracy and have, lived a free and fair life for 30 years. Let's side with the people. Let's side with the dictator, Vladimir Putin. Let's side with him.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Elon Musk wielding a chainsaw in Washington, boasting about slashing the size of the federal government.
I am become meme.
The man in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, getting a hero's welcome at a conservative conference hours after the IRS began firing some 6,000 workers.
I'm proud of the work. Sad to leave my colleagues.
This now former IRS worker says he's been fired even though he was brought in to streamline data and automation at the agency.
Oh, my God. Microdosing. I don't know what else to say about this guy. Literally on stage with, the Argentinian, Bitcoin guy, Milei or whatever, with a chainsaw that was gifted to, telling us that he's going to take a chainsaw to our government. I don't think that you trim that with a chainsaw unless you're microdosing. I can't think of any other situation in which I would approach, cutting fat from a piece of meat with a chainsaw, unless I was like really effed up. And I got news for you. I don't get effed up. So that ain't going to happen in my house. But in his house, he said, I am becoming meme. I am becoming meme. I mean, we are literally being invaded by a foreign adversary who has our data. And we're just supposed to sit here and say, you'll see, it'll all work out. I don't think it's going to work out. I don't think it's going to work out for anybody. I don't think it's working out right now for people who need their malaria medicine. I don't think it's working out right now for people who need their HIV meds, so that they don't pass the disease on to their children and create a new HIV pandemic. Okay? Epidemic. I don't think that it's going to solve any problems at all, this chainsaw thing. And I don't know why people are sitting here defending it. And there are still a few that are defending this nonsense. But I will say, for the most part, people are starting to say, oh, my God, what the really, make it stop. And that is why I just don't think this is going to go on very much longer. I think what's going to happen is he's going to be a lame duck a lot sooner than anybody thinks. This could be peak Trump right now. This could be as far as he gets to go, because I think people are pushing back so hard. This is why this Republican town hall meeting is a important leading indicator about what is absolutely going to happen. And I just don't see where everybody in this country, especially people in rural America, allow for things like Medicaid cuts to actually close down their rural hospitals, which is kind of what keeps those rural hospitals alive, are people who have Medicaid using those hospitals, and they get reimbursed by the Medicaid federal program, and thus the rural hospital continues to be able to open its doors each morning and turn on its lights. It is able to do an X-ray and maybe even an MRI. Do you see what I mean? Going after the veterans' benefits, do you really think that that's going to play well in Peoria? Because I just don't think so. I don't think veterans are, very excited about the fact that he's just done away with the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center, yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. But there's a health plan for those guys who, were dying from mesothelioma and other, inhalants that were all over Ground Zero. He just ended that. He just ended that. And the only reason why he's behaving this way and turning his love towards Vladimir Putin, I just don't know if you know this or not, but Vladimir Putin actually is the one that said to Donald Trump that there are the rare earth minerals that are beneath Ukraine, okay, which is probably beneath almost every place, and would need to be developed, and it would take an awful lot of money to do it. And Vlad is playing your idiot president and telling him, there's rare earth minerals beneath Ukraine, and I'll split them with you. Which is why Trump is going to Zelensky and saying to Zelensky, split it with me. Give me half of all the rare earth minerals beneath. And then he comes today and he goes, Zelensky has to say yes because he has no cards. Well, if you consider Europe no cards, Because that's what Zelensky has right now. He has the full support of every European nation. And this president is literally putting us in a place where we side with war criminals now. And if you think it's not already a global war, check out these little factoids, okay? You ready for these? These are just two little ones. Putin is using Iranian drones and North Korean troops. That's kind of global if you ask me. And Donald Trump wants in on that. He wants to be on the side of North Korea and Iran. This is where he's playing. And, you know, I think a lot of Americans, most of us, and in fact, you know, when you look at the polls, he's tanking. And that's why I say we're at peak Trump. It won't get any better. It won't get any better. His approval ratings will not improve from here, okay? It's just as he destroys our government, as Elon runs around with, you know, sunglasses at night indoors with chainsaws, you know, and hangs out with the Argentinian, you know, I guess he's the president, who presides over a third world economy and is failing miserably. As Donald Trump aligns us with those people in this world, America is going to say, you know, this just doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't feel democratic. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like this is the best we could do. It feels to me like he lied. It feels to me like he's looking to be a dictator. Or it feels like to me like he's looking to usurp all the oversight from Congress that is dedicated to overseeing the executive branch. And it looks like he's trying to scare them, intimidate them, threaten them. And that doesn't seem right either. It's one thing to make a bold argument, and it's another thing to threaten somebody's family or threaten somebody's workplace with violence. And we've already seen that episode happen. It's not like, you know, you have to go very far to find episodes of violence in the workplace against Congress members. Some of us are actually old enough to remember January 6th. Yeah. Guilty. I remember it. And it wasn't tourists in between the truncheons. I mean, we're now hearing stories from Democratic reps who have sat down with the Republican reps, who have seen this at their hometown town hall, who have fielded thousands and thousands and thousands of phone calls from their constituents. And I would suggest you keep that going. This is, you know, minimal pressure on them, just the phone call thing. But it seems to be getting their attention. It always does when the phone rings, when the postcards come. Good old-fashioned postcards scare the bejesus out of them because they know you vote. And they say to the Democrats, we are afraid. One of them literally broke down in tears and said, he's already attacked us at our workplace. What are we to think he'll do to us at home where our families are sleeping?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. The president has called Zelensky a dictator. Does he view Putin as a dictator? And does he want Zelensky out of power? I know he's called for elections.
Look, President Trump is obviously very frustrated right now with President Zelensky. The fact that that he hasn't come to the table, that he hasn't been willing to take this opportunity that we have offered. I think he eventually will get to that point, and I hope so very quickly. But President Trump is, as we made clear to our Russian counterparts, and I want to make clear today, he's focused on stopping the fighting and moving forward. And we could argue all day long about what's happened in the past.
No, he's not focused on stopping the fighting. If he was focused on stopping the fighting, then he would send in the planes. He would send in the ammunition. He would tell Ukraine, whatever you need, here you go. Let's get this over with, okay? And Vlad has lost almost 1 million people at this point, okay? You understand that. Vlad is down to North Korean soldiers and Iranian drones. So this whole thing is just such a complete extortion And, Donald Trump has a history of, it's like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I mean, he already extorted Zelensky for dirt on, the Biden family. And he even said to Zelensky, I'm holding up your Javelin missiles. I'm not going to send them. And you don't even have to do anything. It's such a beautiful caper. You don't even have to do anything. All you got to do is say you're opening up an investigation into the Bidens. Just say it. Say it. And Zelensky was like, I'm not going to be shaken down, okay? You're not going to extort us. And when that happened, and Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump were both in charge of their respective countries, Vladimir Putin understood that Donald Trump would be on Vlad's side. And they blame NATO. NATO. Okay, look, can I just dispose of the NATO argument? Here it is. NATO is a defensive alliance. It has never, ever attacked anybody. Why are you afraid of NATO? Unless you want to do damage to a NATO country, and then it has to defend that country, see? Well, Ukraine is not in NATO, And if Ukraine was in NATO, Vladimir Putin wouldn't be able to attack Ukraine because they would have to defend Ukraine. See? And what's really fascinating is Ukraine is not part of NATO, and Vladimir Putin decided to attack Ukraine while he could because he knew they were going to be part of NATO sooner rather than later. And so he attacked Ukraine. And he's not done attacking Ukraine. And he wants Ukraine, and he wants Belarus, and he wants Romania, and he wants Poland. And Europe is kind of smart about it, and they're not going to sit back, relax, and enjoy the Trump show, okay? Nobody thinks that this is, too much to pay to spare us from World War III, except for Donald Trump. Except for Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. Vladimir Putin is a thug. Vladimir Putin makes people fall out of windows and disappear. He poisons people. He spirits them away. He takes Americans hostage, okay? He literally is everything we are against. He represents. And Donald Trump is salivating to be in his camp, to be with him. It's really, really sick. Now, here's what Donald Trump did. He sent our Secretary of the Treasury. He sent Scott Bessent to Kiev last week. Does anybody even know this story? I don't know. He sent him to Kiev last week, and Bessent pushed a paper across a table at Zelensky, demanding that Zelensky sign it. And Zelensky took a quick look at the paper that our Secretary of the Treasury, oh my God, was sent to shove in front of his face. And he said, all right, I'll discuss it with my team. And then Bessent pushed the paper closer to Zelensky and said, quote, you really need to sign this. People back in Washington will be very upset if you don't. And Zelensky committed that he would look at it, but he didn't say anything about, I'm going to sign it, I'm not going to sign. This is all fear-based posturing. That's all this is. And, the people of Ukraine are not stupid people. They live in a dangerous neighborhood and have for 30 years. They had to protest and get killed in their protest. They were shot and killed in the Maidan protests, to try and clean out all the corruption and the oligarchs out of their country. And they were successful. And, this is the thing that'll stop Donald Trump, too. When we go to the streets, they back the hell off. When people, start these general strikes in Brazil, backs off the dictators, real fast. Because they love to, deploy fear and rhetoric and all that. But, it's all empty. It's all empty. There's no way that they can take on, 350 million people or 154 million voters even, or 154 million taxpayers. They can't. So Bessent is like, trying to, Bessent. Yeah, he's pretty scary, okay? And there was an aide in the room who, this is how we know this, because Zelensky did not meet without witnesses. And the aide said Zelensky was very surprised to be presented with a document to sign without deliberations. And his team and, were like, this is a multi-billion-dollar deal, and you want us to sign it at a meeting with the Secretary of the Treasury of the United... Are you insane? Now, some people go, well, Donald Trump, he's a master negotiator. Donald Trump is a con man, okay? Donald Trump isn't a builder. He doesn't build anything. Donald Trump takes over buildings and slaps his name on it because Donald Trump is a marketer. And he can market the Trump name to the point where people sort of make a decision that putting his name on your building might improve the value for what you can charge for office space or rent, right? And so they agreed to put his name on some building. And then when New York got a load of who he really was, they took his name right off because it wasn't a building he built. The only building he built was Trump Tower on 50th, and that was what? In the 70s? No, it was the 80s. And you've seen his taste. I mean, no wonder he's friends with Vladimir Putin. And every dictator, that ever came down the pike, they have the same interior design sensibility. It's really pretty pathetic. Also, this is why he declares himself king. Same interior design philosophy as the king. Everything must be in gold, okay? New York, he declared himself the king of New York, okay? The last king of New York was a real king, and he was also an obese guy with really bad interior design sensibilities. You could see where he gets that influence from. But this is crazy. This is nuts. It can't succeed. Everybody knows it. So why are we going to let people wonder where their next meal is coming from? Why are we going to let all these IRS workers, go without a paycheck? Why are we sitting here saying, I don't know what to do? Of course you do.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, 47 after on a Friday. Randi in Minnesota.
Hi, Randi. It's been a few years since we talked. I sure appreciate all the research that you do, and we need you more than ever.
Oh, thanks.
The question that I have that I haven't had brought up when we're talking about cutting dollars is when Donald Trump is flying from the White House down to Mar-a-Lago. Are we, the taxpayers, paying for all this? I mean, if Donald Trump wants everyone back in the office, shouldn't Donald Trump be back in the White House? And when it's icy cold, I don't think he's going to be golfing. Maybe he'll actually have to do some work.
Well,
and what about all the Secret Service? I understand when you're campaigning, that's what you have campaign contributions for. But what about the everyday of him running all over and us paying for all this? And the last thought that I have is, let's look at these two people and their families. They're bizarre. How can they run the country when they have the most, well, let's just start out with Trump and Melania. He wasn't even there when she had the baby. We know what he was doing. And Elon Musk, he has Asperger's. That's autism. He has, 13 children? That can be passed on through genetics. Maybe we should do something about that issue, that we, the taxpayers, don't have to pay for that. Thanks, Randi. I'll wait to hear for your answer. And again, so appreciate you come from a very military family.
What the hell what was that, Brett? Really, what was that? There wasn't a single moment to answer any of her unbelievable, endless questions. And then, I don't know, now I'm stuck with somebody who trashed autistic people from having children.
She called up. She said, are we paying for Mar-a-Lago?
Yes,
and
we're
are
paying
we for his flights? And that's all she gave me. I did not know she was going to get diarrhea of the mouth.
Oh, my
I
God.
had no control over that, unfortunately. But she wanted to know originally, are we paying for all the flights? And do we pay for everything at Mar-a-Lago while he's staying there?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And what's really disgusting is that he takes his plane from West Palm, he takes his plane from the airport in West Palm Beach to Miami, which is 60 miles away, okay? And we pay for that flight on a 747. You understand? I mean, who does that except a privileged, snot-nosed, spoiled, rotten guy who thinks he's better than everybody else? Everybody else drives from Palm Beach to Miami. No, Donald Trump, he takes the... And yes, we pay for the Secret Service to stay at Mar-a-Lago. He actually charges us for rooms for the Secret Service to stay at Mar-a-Lago. Now, what's really disgusting is the claim of family values. I don't know, I have nothing to say about, autism and whether or not you should, be able to have children. I just think that's like really a ridiculous thing to have thrown out there. I'm not down with that. But okay, so Elon Musk just had his 13th child with a woman, and his previous wife, her name is Grimes. It's not her real name. She's like a techno pop person. I won't call her a star because I don't think anybody, outside of her little circle knows who she is. But she has had 3 children with him. They're no longer together. One of the kid, the kid that he parades around on his shoulders, that's one of her children. And she is having to scream at him on Twitter saying, and I don't know which one it is, saying that one of the children is having a medical emergency and that Elon is not responding to her or to their child's medical emergency. And she understands if he doesn't want to talk to her, but he should really have one of his people contact her so she can deal with their child's medical emergency. This is going on in full view of the public, okay? And people on this platform who are just complete, half of them are bots. The other half are just spewing hatred all the time at anything that disagrees with them, anything at all, anything that can add, subtract, anything that can read, anything that can deduce, anything that can put logic to what's going on here is all, on their, enemies list and to be trolled and, whatever. Who the hell cares about these people, okay? But she's on there and they don't say a word. They don't say a word about Elon Musk being a crappy freaking father and heading up the Family Values Party and cutting off senior citizens from their meals. I don't get it. I mean, you got a teenage edgelord there who's taking a meat axe to the freaking, United States of America, and people know he's a bad father and don't say anything. Donald Trump has, 5 kids by 3 baby mamas. It's insane. It's insane what passes for values now in this country. I mean, it's insane. Donald Trump today was attacking yet again 0.1% of our population because the trans issue really plays in his base. Don't know why, but it does. So today he was screaming about how he's going to cut off all federal funding for the state of Maine unless the state of Maine agrees with him about transgender kids playing sports or some crap. I mean, I think we understand in the NCAA how many athletes are there? Like 150,000? Some crazy big. And of those, multiple tens of thousands of NCAA athletes, there are 10 who identify as transgendered. And this is the hill he wants to die on, apparently. This is the one that always performs for him. This is the one along with immigration. I swear to God, it's so bizarre. It's so incredible. Now, when Joe Biden was president, the last 2 years, immigration was almost like nothing. And it is almost like nothing now. But now he's the president, and so everybody, see, immigration is almost like nothing. And I'm like, well, it was almost like nothing before. Well, it is now. So just really sick and sad. Cheryl in Louisiana.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
How you doing? I'm calling from the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America that sweeps our shores.
The Gulf of America.
Yes, indeed.
2 + 2 is 5, everybody.
Listen, I was just calling a little off topic from what you're talking about, but We have the measles next door in Texas. We have tuberculosis in Missouri. And right now, we're just breaking out with the whooping cough here in Louisiana. Now, Mardi Gras is coming up very soon.
Oh, my
and
God.
we're getting ready to face the same situation that we did for COVID because they asked the mayor, Cantrell, to cancel Mardi Gras. Well, we need the money, but yet they can't even fix a pothole, you know?
Right.
So now we're getting ready to be dealing with the same situation again because all of those tourists coming from Texas and all over is coming here. So we're going to have a really bad situation, especially with the whooping cough. Come on, man. This is crazy.
This is crazy. Yes, measles is back, everybody. It's big, it's bad, it's back, and it's in Texas. 90 cases in West Texas. 90 cases in that tiny little, corner of Texas. Where I used to live, and believe me, that place is desolate, okay? No one lives there except, a couple of watermelon farmers, a couple of cotton farmers, and some cactus.
And now with mini Trump, Governor Landry, he has a Surgeon General. He's a veterinarian, but he's the one that's telling us about our health. And his assistant, Surgeon General, is an ophthalmologist. Okay, and so they just pulled the public service announcement, where they tell people to get your vaccinations, your flu shots and stuff. We don't have that anymore. So we're dealing with a really bad situation here in Louisiana, too, Not to mention the fact, last time I called you, I was living in the FEMA trail. I told you I lost everything. I lived there for 2 years.
I remember you.
Yeah, I lived there in the trailer for 2 years. I'm so blessed I wasn't sleeping on the streets, but, that was so uncomfortable. I'm on Social Security, a housing program, and my rent is, $1,250 if they go messing around with the housing situation.
Oh, yeah, they're going for it. Yeah, they are. They're going for you, baby. They're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming.
Yeah.
Because you're the problem, Cheryl. You're the problem. Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
2 + 2 is 5. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Of course.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, I remember you. I do. It's just that... Now, you would think that, people who are recovering from hurricanes and things like that, I don't know, Tom Tillis, the Republican senator from North Carolina, you would think he would be a no vote to cut FEMA or housing and urban development, which was also targeted today by the Trump administration for cuts. You would think Tom Tillis and, people in Louisiana would actually say, that's a bridge too far.
Mary had a little man. The fault.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Keep the faith.
This is going to be a disaster.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
President Trump's top lieutenant driving home his rapid shredding of the federal government.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Elon Musk boasting about his Department of Government Efficiency's work, slashing jobs and spending.
This waste is pretty much over, so it's like you can close your eyes and go shoot in any direction. You can't miss,
But some Republicans are now facing constituent pushback over the president and Musk's vision.
What's not reasonable is taking this chainsaw approach. Why is this being jammed down the pipe so rushed and sloppily?
Taking questions about Doge's work this week.
Who is paying for Doge?
We are looking into that now to find out. I don't know the answer.
The fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
And last night, tensions boiled over at a Republican congressman's town hall in Georgia over the president's executive orders and budget cuts.
The people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
The administration's latest cuts coming at the IRS. The president's top economic advisor saying the number of cuts could exceed 3,500. The Democrats have warned could have a catastrophic impact on the tax filing season, with some veteran IRS workers saying it could affect how quickly you get your refund.
the work's going to get backed up. And so private citizens are going to be like, the IRS is not doing their job. And it's because we're getting hollowed out.
The White House defending all of the layoffs across government.
We're studying every agency and deciding who to let go and why. And we're doing so very rationally.
All of it as a new Washington Post poll finds President Trump has a 45% approval rating, with a majority 53% disapproving of his job as president. 57% say he's exceeded his authority, while just 34% approve of Elon Musk and his handling of the job. The president getting his best marks on immigration, with 50% approving, while 48% disapprove. And as we keep that running tally, the TSA now confirms that more than 240 probationary employees there, workers hired or promoted within the last year, have now been terminated. And there are more to come after a federal judge ruled the Trump administration can move ahead with these mass layoffs at federal agencies, rejecting a suit from labor unions. The judge said that President Trump's executive orders have, quote, caused disruptions and even chaos in widespread quarters of American society, but added that federal court was not the appropriate venue for the lawsuit.
No, federal court was not the appropriate venue for the lawsuit, according to the judge. The judge said you had to go to the Federal National Labor Relations Board, which is made up of 3 members appointed by, all right. So you see this endless loop that we're in. However, it will just slow it down. It doesn't mean that you can't go back to court. The idea that labor unions, I just can't believe it. Labor unions don't have standing because the unions themselves aren't being harmed. Only the workers who belong to the unions are being harmed. And the judges are splitting the baby like this because everybody's afraid of retribution. Everyone is literally in fear of this crazy administration that apparently veterans and immigrants elected. Oh yeah, Venezuelans. Okay, this is like, okay, Brett likes Schadenfreude. I'm not a fan of it. Okay, I don't like seeing other people suffer. It's not my thing. But he loves.
I like touch it.
You love it.
I like touch it.
I
dabble.
You love. Okay, so here's the thing. In Florida, in Doral, where Donald Trump has his golf club, okay, which used to be, it's a suburb west of Miami, used to be like a warehouse district, which is why Donald Trump decided to do it there, because it was cheap and he could afford, and then he could lie and say it was, just the elite of the elite. It was a warehouse district, okay? And because some of these some of these warehouses became offices and small businesses, then lunch places started opening up, and it added to the growth of this warehouse district west of Miami. Okay, so who moved there? A lot of immigrants moved there, mostly from, wait for it, Venezuela. That's right. They call it Doral-Venezuela. Yes, that's what Doral is actually called. The place where Donald Trump says the elite come to eat and meet, or whatever. Okay, it's garbage. It's garbage and garbage. All right, so the Venezuelans, there's about 300,000 in South Florida. They voted en masse for Donald Trump because Donald Trump made them feel important and safe. They're here under temporary protected status. Haitians, too, in the neighborhood I work in. This is also a bunch of office buildings and warehouses where I work, okay? And so here, there are a lot of temporary protected status Haitians who have restaurants and bakeries and apartments and houses. A lot of houses, small $98,000 houses where their children play and go to school, and it's a nice neighborhood. This is why I, rent it here. Okay. All of a sudden, Donald Trump has decided he's going to revoke temporary protected status. And no, not just for the Haitians who are eating the pets.
They're eating the pets.
They're eating the dogs. And people say to him, we called. Nobody has any reports of any animals being harmed anywhere in this Springfield, Ohio city. Well, I saw it on TV. I swear, that's what your president says. I saw it on television. I saw it on the TV, okay? So it must be true. Well, now he's taken away temporary protected status from Haitians in Springfield and from Venezuelans in South Florida. And they are livid. They are beside themselves. That's schadenfreude, everybody. That is what that is. And I don't get any pleasure from watching them suffer, okay? I don't. There are people who are watching the farmers who also voted for Donald Trump yet again. Again, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The farmers are like, oh, no, not again. Oh, no. He's putting tariffs on things and they're going to reciprocate. And oh, my God. Oh, no. Yep. And so some people are saying, do not feel bad for the farmers because they knew what was coming. They voted for him anyway. They tried to talk themselves into the fact that he wasn't going to do anything he said he was going to do. I am not happy to see our country do poorly. I am not happy to see farmers fail. I am not happy to see Venezuelans deported when I know that they are upstanding, hardworking, decent family people. That's what we need more of, not less of. Same thing for my Haitian neighborhood. It's what we need more of, not less of. I get no pleasure out of watching them be shocked and appalled that they voted for this guy and now they're going to be deported. It's an unbelievable thing. It's an unbelievable thing. Veterans too. Veterans voted for Donald Trump and now he's just he's hollowing out the VA. He's literally hollowing it out. 90 kids, 90 in West Texas have measles. 90. It was 58 a couple days ago. Can you see how it's spreading? Because these people would not vaccinate their kids because they believed him. They believe. RFK is trending on Twitter. I just keep an eyeball on it. He's saying that ivermectin cured COVID, and Fauci is a murderer. I swear to God. This is the guy who's in charge of Health and Human Services. He's barely human, and he's not a doctor. And he's literally telling people what the Journal of American Medicine, what the Food and Drug Administration, what... It doesn't work. TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
All right, Daryl in Los Angeles. Hi.
Hey, Randi. Sorry, I have a really horrible cold, but
that's okay. I got a pain in my neck, literally. I can hardly turn my body. Oh.
Hey, so I was laying here in bed, coming out of a deep sleep.
You do sound awful.
Yeah, I know, it's horrible. I blame Kennedy. So, so I was looking at my phone, and then I saw something on Yahoo Entertainment, and it says the J6 Choir is going to play at the Kennedy Center.
It's the same as Heart playing for Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven.
Exactly.
You want to hear something else? I don't know if this came over your little phone there. Enrique Tarrio, who was pardoned by Donald Trump, who got one of the longest sentences, assaulted a woman in D.C. at a rally that was totally peaceful, and they just rearrested him.
Good.
Well, it's simple assault. I mean, if he were on probation, he'd go back to the Hoosgal, but because he was pardoned, he gets to, go back out on the street. So.
Yeah, and what they're doing is it's like, they're creating this huge gash, this huge wound in our country.
Yeah.
And things like this, like these little January 6th things at Kennedy, that's like adding salt into the wound,
But what's really fascinating now is like people are starting to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and they're saying, "I don't like this show. This is not good. I don't want to see another episode." Are you still watching? No, I'm not still watching.
Right.
And they don't want to continue down this road that they voted to go down. And the January 6th thing, when you actually ask the Republicans now about it. They're not pro. They were not pro the pardons. They didn't like it. They stayed quiet about it. But now they're like, oh, I get it. So he's emptying our prisons of violent offenders. Right. Welcome everybody.
God help us.
Really?
Anyone help us?
That's what I said.
Who's going to help us?
I don't know. We're going to help us.
Yeah.
We are.
You're going to have to help us. There's a rally going on.
There you go.
It's going to be a little small thing, I think, in Glendale, California.
Okay.
If I'm well enough, I'm going to go, but it's at a Tesla shop at the Americana Mall, which is sort of like a big
And today, I was doing a little thing on CNN today, and they were mocking the little protests. They were mocking them, and I'm like, you got to understand that if the government shuts down on the 14th because they fail to do a budget, we're going to shut the rest of it down on the 15th. So mock us now. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think it's important, even if it's a little small. Even if it's small, I think we get out there, and then from there it grows.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And, I'm all about it. I think that's like exactly what we need is to show up, show out, and say, this is it. We're not taking it anymore. This is crazy. We're watching the VA be hollowed out. Are you serious? It's tax time. You're gonna cut the VA, which is a profit center, moron. It is the place that makes the most money for the taxpayer. Now, if they want to talk about $2 trillion, again, there's plenty of places to find it. You could raise revenue. Oh, did she just say raise taxes? How about if we made a deal? Where if you make less than $100 million, we don't raise your taxes. We could raise trillions of dollars doing that. Elizabeth Warren has done the math 1,000 times for us. That, the penny tax on people making over $400 million a year, just, incrementally raising taxes, the more and more and more you make, actually pays for everything, pays for the entire government, pays for Medicare for all, pays for pre-K, pays for 14 years of college free. I mean, it pays for they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it because they want to go down the oligarchy road. They want to go down that road. They want Vig. I mean, Donald Trump wants to be the mobster of all. And, listen, I'll tell you this. If he supposedly is playing, what do they say, 4D chess, 4-dimensional chess. I saw the game that Elon plays. It's a stupid-looking game. I've seen a lot of games. The ones that you play, stupid-looking games. Really dumb.
Who are you pointing at just now?
You.
Oh.
These games are just dumb. They're really stupid. You know what's a good game? Tetris. I love that game. Candy Crush. Fabulous. But these games where you kill things, what the F, man? What is that? You feel big doing that? I don't know. And he rolls around, and then he's surrounded by a wall, and then he goes and kills more things. I'm like, you know what? This is not 4D chess. That game is not chess. It's not 4D chess, not 1D chess. But if Donald Trump is supposedly this master, this chess master, then here's the game he's playing, all right? He's actually saying to Ukraine, pay up or we're going to leave you out there to die, right? This is his message to Zelensky, isn't it? Am I wrong about the message? Am I? Well, I can't. All right. I'm talking to Brett. He's not talking to me.
I'm saying no, you're not wrong.
How would anybody know that you're participating in this? They can't see you. You won't put yourself on camera, and they can't hear you if you don't press the mic button. You're not participating. But if he's playing 3D chess, then the message that he's sending to Ukraine, which is that they need to include him in 50% of all their wealth that lies beneath the ground, that lies off the shore, if it's oil, if it's gas, if it's rare earth minerals, if it's lithium for batteries, whatever it is, titanium, he wants 50% of it, or else they can just go F themselves, right? And he's going to feed them to Putin, and Putin's going to put them in the meat grinder and eat them, right? This is the message. Now, if he's doing that because he's a master chess player, then the real message is directed towards Putin, and it's to relax him. It's to make him think that Donald Trump is on Putin's side so Putin will relax. and Putin won't be on guard for any American anything because we've thrown in with Putin. If he's a master chess player, and if that's the game he's playing, then he has to off Putin in the end, you see. And that ain't happening because he's not a 4D chess player. He's a transactional, you do this for me, I do that for you, quid pro quo guy who loves extortion and false threats. The only threat that's ever happened, and I don't even think he can believe his luck, is the Enrique Tarrio crowd, who literally, drink White Claws for breakfast, chain smoke cigarettes, couldn't, storm a Capitol if they had to because, it's like emphysema lung. So they tell their, minions to go do it, we got you back, and then they all go to jail. That's 4D chess in Trump world. I mean, honestly, it makes no sense, but the only thing that Donald Trump was ever able to do that scared people was the January 6th thing. And now you got Republicans freaked out because of the January 6th violence, that they attacked them at work. Well, they're going to attack them at home. Look what happened to Paul Pelosi, right? And that's why they won't stand up to him.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Oh, man, I slept funny last night. And then I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been up ever since. I'm just so tired. It's so exhausting being an American now. It's so exhausting. I'm exhausted.
You've got Trumplash.
I do. That's it. That's what it is. He did this. He did this to me. Retribution time. Seriously, dude. I mean, this is just such a, like I said, listen, maybe we have to wait until November when we vote for a House of Representatives that can push back given enough numbers and impeach this SOB who's destroying everything from veterans health care to Meals on Wheels, all in the name of, saving. And what's really interesting? You know what I did during the break? I looked up, what is the contribution from people in this country on temporary protected status? And just Haitians alone. I looked at Hondurans, Haitians, and El Salvadorans. There's very few of them, but they contribute $6.9 billion into the Social Security Trust Fund. 94% of them work for a living in this here country. 94% of them are employed. An idiot boy is like they're eating the pets.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
And he got elected. So what does that say about us? It's so interesting because the question that the wider media is asking, people like me over and over, are the Democrats doing enough? The Republicans aren't doing anything. The Republicans aren't doing anything. Nothing. And they elected a person who said
they're eating the pets.
Whose fault is this? The Democrats? No. Kamala? No. Biden? No. It's the voters, man. This country is being ill-served by media. They elected that man. Blame ourselves and now fix it. When I say you know what to do, fix it. You know what to do. This is craziness. Okay, you dabbled in fascism and you got fascism. That's what you got. Oh, I don't know if you saw this or not. This is amazing. Amazing. Give me, what do I need here? 2 minutes? Do I have 2 minutes? Yes, I do. I want to play you, J.B. Pritzker. He's the governor of Illinois, okay? He did the State of the State address at the Illinois Assembly. I think it was yesterday or the day before, okay? It was the day before. And he nailed it. He nailed it. He told you the truth about Donald Trump, and he told you the truth about where we're going.
The root that tears apart your house's foundation begins as a seed of distrust and hate and blame. The seed that grew into a dictatorship in Europe a lifetime ago didn't arrive overnight. It started with everyday Germans mad about inflation and looking for someone to blame. I'm watching with a foreboding dread what is happening in our country right now. A president who watches a plane go down in the Potomac and suggests without facts or findings that a diversity hire is responsible for the crash. Or the Missouri Attorney General who just sued Starbucks, arguing that consumers pay higher prices for their coffee because the baristas are too female and non-white. The authoritarian playbook is laid bare here. They point to a group of people who don't look like you and tell you to blame them for your problems. I just have one question. What comes next? After we've discriminated against, deported, or disparaged all the immigrants and the gay and lesbian and transgender people, the developmentally disabled, the women and the minorities, once we've ostracized our neighbors and betrayed our friends, after that, when the problems we started with are still there staring us in the face, what comes next? All the atrocities of human history lurk in the answer to that question. And if we don't want to repeat history, then for God's sake, in this moment, we better be strong enough to learn from it.
Amazing. Now, that's incredible. You understand that J.B. Pritzker is from a Holocaust surviving family, and he opened up a Holocaust museum. He puts his money where his mouth is, and, you know, he's got a bunch of it. But he's also a public servant, and he's a very good one, and is laying out for you exactly where we are. And we are at the crux of it. We are at a fork in the road, as Elon likes to say. Now, the people who took Elon's fork got forked. They are not getting paid. They are still being, disposed of. They are still being told that they're being disposed of because of bad performance, even though they've never received any performance, review. And they're being told that their performance sucked, but they've never had a performance review. Some of them have had performance reviews and came out, stellar, came out great. You're an excellent employee. You've got a great attitude. People like you in the office. They say that you'll go the extra mile. They say that you do your job with a smile on your face. You're being fired because of poor performance. And they're like, this is illegal. They are lying to us. They are telling us that we've been evaluated. We haven't even been spoken to in a negative way ever in the history of our employment. Some of them are very experienced. They just move from one unit to another. And if they move from one unit to another, they're considered probationary employees. And Donald Trump is going after them because they're the easiest to fire. This is disgusting. We're gutting ourselves. Right out in the open. You know what's really interesting? Remember when COVID first started taking hold and everybody was like, hey, he fired this pandemic response team inside the White House. True. You know who did that? You know who actually did it? And this is what makes me sick every time I see him on CNN or any other news, but I mostly see him on CNN. John Bolton did that. He disbanded the pandemic prevention prep guys that were working in the White House. And these guys have been studying pandemics forever and learning lessons from the 1918 flu and all this stuff. And I mean, they knew about social distancing. They understood what the difference was in certain cities when 1918's flu pandemic took hold, and they saw that people who, got ahead of it and social distance, meaning they stayed inside, even in 1918, and wore masks, didn't die. People who didn't do that did. He fired that group. He fired them. I just read a whole book about it. Michael Lewis. You ever hear of Michael Lewis? He wrote Moneyball. Yeah. So he's got this book. You should read it. It's called Premonition, okay, about the COVID pandemic. And it's like, listen, if he wrote 8,000 words on staplers, you'd read it.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Last segment before a heating pad and a beer. Oh, it sounds really good right now. All right, Kenny in New Mexico.
Hey, Rand. How you doing?
Good. How are you? How are you? What's going on?
You know, I'm formerly South Kakalaki, now here in rural America.
Yep.
And one thing's gone under the radar is our United States Postal Service is the next target for the Orange Julius Caesar. Had you heard about that?
I have. There's an article in the Washington Post about it today. I put it in the homework. However, when they were exposed as, being after it, they denied that they had issued or were considering issuing an executive order to fire the board of directors of the Postal Service and then take it private. Now, we'll say this, the Postal Service is not subject to executive orders because it's in the Constitution.
And since the 1970s, it's been an independent agency. You can't just fire the Postal Board of Governors. But of course, if you're, if you're Elron, I guess you think you can.
Here's the thing. He's dying to get as fast as possible in front of the Supreme Court. Why? Because he believes that since he anointed them, that they will find for him that not only is he immune during official activities to any law breaking, but that it is like a blanket immunity. He could do whatever he wants. So he's going to try to break laws really, really quickly so that he can get in front of the Supreme Court. That is what he's doing. So every time we see him do something, horrendous, just know, yes, there are consequences, human consequences to people in the VA, to people who need Meals on Wheels, to people who actually, are not getting vaccinated, to people, all these things are true, and the two things are true at the same time. He's causing damage to human beings and breaking the law to get in front of the Supreme Court as fast as possible, hoping they will let him become a dictator.
Meanwhile, that's one call you can make to the senators, and I don't know.
Was I just listening to your intestinal fortitude? Like, really?
No, what that is that's the same noise my horse makes in the morning when she's mad at me because the water froze over, which is what's been happening here, a lot of freezing.
So that was an imitation of a disgusted horse?
Yes, that's what that was. That's
Dang.
what that was. So we're thoroughly disgusted. Call your Congress people and your Senate critters
call them.
And let them know not to do
That's
this.
right. I keep
every
telling
day.
you, every day. I'm telling you, you know what to do. Every day you have to make noise. Every day you have to bang on a pot or a pan. Every day you have to be heard. Every single solitary day. Every day. From here on out until this thing is neutered, until this thing ends, until this crazy merry-go-round of destruction, this chainsaw a massacre of us is ended. Now, listen, Elon Musk, 34% approval rating. Donald Trump, underwater. He's at, 44, 45% today? It's not going to get any better. And he's a terrible person. Terrible. And if it gets worse, which it will, for him, the scorched earth posture that he's taken to get in front of the Supreme Court will become the scorched earth posture that he takes because if he can't have it, nobody can. Now, I imagine that the Postal Service privatization talk is for the benefit of people like Bezos, Amazon, people that do, massive deliveries and would love to charge you even more for free delivery, You gotta understand they all bent the knee for a reason. Everybody's in this thing for profit. Our government, though, is not a profit-taking enterprise, okay? Our government exists to see to the general welfare of the people. That's what good government is. That's what it exists for. That's what it's supposed to do. Is there going to be waste? Yes. Is there a way to streamline it? Yes, of course. Google Bill Clinton, okay, streamlining government. Google Bill Clinton balanced budget. Google Bill Clinton economy, okay? We know what to do. I'm so sick of Republicans saying, Democrats need to come up with an idea. They don't know what to do. Bite me already, okay? I'm done arguing with you. I'm not going to argue anymore. I'm just, it's not even worth the breath. It's not worth the effort. The lift it takes to push back on people that want to say these stupid, trolly things to your face. Forget about it. Forget about it. We know what to do. We've known what to do for a long-ass time. What we do works. It works for people, places, and things. It works for government. It works for workers. It works for people who work for the government. And it works for our economy. When you want to streamline government, you can't go fire hundreds of thousands of people, because when you do, it causes a recession. Why? Because it inhibits growth. And what is a recession? 2 quarters without growth. 2 quarters of negative growth is a recession. And when you fire hundreds of thousands of people it doesn't even matter if you had a reason or not, you don't get growth. And you start going into negative growth territory. And when that happens and you couple that with inflation, your economy is going to crash, which is kind of where he's at right now. He could go either way. And that's the kind of string that he's dangling us on. You have to call. You have to call every day. You have to tell them this is disgraceful. You're going to cause a recession. We're going to blame you. We're going to hold you accountable. And by you, I mean Republicans who will not stop him because they're crying. Literally. They will go, oh, cry more, libs. We don't cry. We use the phone, is what we do. They cry. We're scared of him. I mean, if he attacks us at work, can you imagine what he's going to do to our families at home? We can't stand up to, I swear to God. And they know what's going on is pure, unadulterated mismanagement. Okay, that's the nicest way you could put what's going on. Nicest way. This is complete disregard for economics, complete disregard for math, complete disregard for economies and growth and Americans. They know that. They know that. These are very sophisticated people. The idea that Tom Tillis doesn't know what he's, being, indoctrinated into. Of course he knows. He knows that Vladimir Putin is a cancer, okay? Mike Waltz knows it. These guys that stand at the podium and advocate for Vladimir Putin, they don't sleep well. They have anxiety every single night. In the middle of the night, they wake up knowing what they are doing is disgraceful, disgusting. They're even probably sitting there going, why am I doing it? Why? Because it's better to be on the inside than it is to be on the outside. That's all I know. They're afraid to be us. I'm not afraid to be us. You don't be afraid to be us. Do the right thing when no one's looking. It always works. Always. Everything else? Death, destruction, grief, regret, remorse, and if you're lucky, forgiveness. If you're lucky. All right. Jesse in California.
Hi, Randy. There's been madness going on in this world, man, I'll tell you. I just wanted to let you know, Randy, that I am a United States Army veteran. I have worked for the post office for 38 years.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I feel betrayed by my country. And I also feel betrayed by my family that voted for this clown.
Mm.
Yeah,
I know. I see it.
It hurts so much, Randy. I mean, I couldn't even sleep last night. Like you said, that you're tired. I am tired, too.
Yeah.
And also one more thing, Randy, is if there is a lot of fraud going on, why hasn't anybody been arrested? You know, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you know, there is some fraud. There's a lot of fraud, actually. And if you look in the United States Senate, you'll find a senator from Florida. His name is Rick Scott, you know, and when he was CEO of a big hospital chain.
Medicare, yes.
Yes, he defrauded Medicare, and he's not in jail. No, he's a U.S. senator. This is what's wrong with the country. Guys like him, it's what's wrong, that they're never held accountable. And we suffer. We suffer from them saying, there's fraud. Yes, it's you. It's you. We're going to make it. I just don't want you to worry, but is it exhausting? Yes, it's exhausting. So go relax, have a weekend.